Good morning, Chelsea.
Hi guys. How are you?
Hey.
Oh, this is perfect. I can cover my roots.
Something I don't have to worry about at this stage. That ship sailed a long time ago.
Yes,
How
it did, Andy. It did sail a
it really
long
did.
time ago.
I was just talking. I cut my wife's hair last night.
Oh, that's cute. How did that turn out?
Well, she's not on here with me this morning. I think she's going to be going out for a little while. I mean, it's okay. But what are you doing? Are you cutting your own hair in quarantine?
No, I'm just letting nature take its course. You know, whatever happens. This is a good reprieve for me, so I'm just going to let things happen.
Okay. How are you? How are you finding this all?
I'm well, thank you. I'm not, obviously I don't have anything. I'm in a position of privilege in the sense I don't have anything to worry about with food and things like that. So I just kind of make it my business to make sure I know what's going on with the rest of people and the rest of the country. I know kind of taking in the news can be so overwhelming, but I think it's so essential to know that people are really suffering and keep that in mind. And it's a great opportunity to get down with meditation for all the people who haven't done that yet. Now you have no excuse.
So I'm going to jump right into that, Chelsea, because I know we spoke a while back on your podcast, but you've been dabbling, you've been meditating for quite a while now.
I have.
Can you dabble in meditation?
I dabble. Yeah, I commingle, I dabble. I started with Headspace, with your app, because my psychiatrist was trying to get me into it, and I was like, I need an easy entry. And I think that yours is that. It's like it's a great app for beginners. Well, it's a great app for people who are advanced meditators too, but I think it's a great app for beginners who are like me, who are a little bit cynical, who don't think they can do it right, who don't think they know that they're doing it well, or they don't feel it, or they don't have the patience. It really taught me to just let the voice guide you. It's very instructional. And for me, I kind of like things, I like a blueprint and just to be told to visualize. And then the little, kind of helpful tools you have on the app are so helpful in terms of how to visualize if you don't know. And now I have great meditations. I mean, they're not great every day, but they're more consistent. And
do you try and make it a daily habit?
Yeah. Right now I'm doing a meditation challenge with like Deepak and Oprah, but usually I always use Headspace to fall asleep. And I always use you guys made a special little app for me for cabin downpour, so I could have it, so it would play all night instead of turning off after 45 minutes.
There you go.
But so thank you for that. But I use it all the time, and I mean, it is a helpful tool. Right away when I wake up, it's the first thing I do.
Yeah. What do you remember? At what point did you have to go? I'm always intrigued as to why people kind of come to meditation. If I think of Rich, kind of, who's my co-founder. He said for him, he kind of had to get to a point of real desperation until he kind of found meditation. Hopefully not everyone kind of gets to that point, and it's more of a preventative thing. But what was it for you, Chelsea, that kind of got you?
When you're desperate, you have to believe in something. It's like why people turn to religion. This is a form of spirituality, a form of centering. And I think that, for me personally, going to a therapist helped me become more open-minded to techniques like this, which I would normally be like, oh, meditation is for that group of people. Like, I'm not going to a silent retreat, so stay away from me with the chakra and all of that stuff. Like, that's just not who I am. And I'm not, so I needed a more practical, pragmatic kind of meditation to get me in. And now, and through therapy, I became more open-minded about that. I became more open-minded about a lot of things that could help me. Just the notion of sitting still in the middle of the day and taking a couple of deep breaths helps you be more loving and kinder to people. So, it's not perfect every day. No one is. I'm still a bitch in many ways, but I try.
It's funny you say that. Like, I'm always intrigued kind of by people's notions of meditation. I kind of feel like people have this idea that it somehow like wipes the hard drive. And kind of you just become this kind of, I don't know, either this very even-keeled sort of person, or a person free from any emotion, or free from any kind
vegetable.
of... Yeah, exactly, right? Some kind of just grey blob, or kind of like any negative kind of... And I mean, I know, I think everyone who meditates kind of knows that that's not what happens. You sit down, you still have lots of stuff going on. It's just how involved you become in that stuff.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, it becomes like if you go from one form of meditation to another and you start to kind of explore it and experience different ones, the tenets are all the same, you know, the ideology is all the same. So it's like, oh, you have your tool belt and you're like, basically just sitting still with yourself for 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day is doing enough. That's doing something. You don't have to be killing it every time. You're just giving yourself the time and habituating a new pattern.
What's the time that you're least likely to? So do you find kind of at weekends it goes out the window? Do you find when you go on holiday that you tend to kind of forget it? Lots of people say the more time they have, ironically right now, a lot of people have a lot more time. They're at home a lot more, and yet they're struggling to kind of find their place for it in their routine.
Well, I started this group meditation because my sister and her kids came down here after we all did our own quarantines. And so they've been staying with me for the past few weeks. And we started doing a group meditation in the morning, which lasted all of one day. So every morning I was coming down, I'm like, is everyone ready to meditate? And they're like, yeah. And then it would be 3 o'clock and we still hadn't meditated. So I finally was like, okay, you guys are useless. I'm going to do this by myself. You can't make people meditate. You know what I mean?
You really can't.
Yeah, I mean, I tried, believe me. I'm like, sit down. But most of the people in my life have seen the difference that it has made in me. And they've noted that, and that's a great way to make an impression, just by being different, because then people see something's different, and then they want to know how you did it.
Talk to me about humor and meditation. So, one thing that kind of always, I don't say kills me is a bit strong, but I kind of feel like there's a seriousness around kind of meditation very often, or that's the way it's kind of thought of and looked at. I actually think there can be a real sense of playfulness and humor when, like, sitting and watching the mind can be like watching the craziest movie. And we either tend to get very involved in it or we're able to actually kind of sit and observe it. You're a comedian. When you find yourself, are you able to sort of smile at the neurosis? Are you able to laugh at the neurosis? Or do you find yourself kind of getting sucked into it?
Well, I mean, I'm just, you know, I could get sucked into it just like anybody else. But now I know that's like a narrative. That's not me. Like, I'm me. And what I like to do when I meditate is really just think about all the things that bring me joy. My mom, who's no longer with us, you know, my childhood in Martha's Vineyard, we're all on the ocean. We're all holding hands. My nieces are all sitting together, and it's just like our energy. And I just think of like all of that positivity. And then of course there's humor that comes in. Like, my mom will touch me somewhere that annoys me, like she did when I was a child or something. And I'll be like, you know, fuck off. And then I'm like, I can't say fuck off during meditation. I have to be serious. And I'm like, and I can't say that to my mother. So yes, all of the stuff that happens normally, you know, happens, but it's a nice challenge, and it's good to, you know, visualize things that really bring you comfort and joy, because that helps you stay focused and centered with that kind of buoyant energy and luminous, you know, luminous kind of vibe. Yeah,
I like that. And with something we've talked a bunch about the last couple of weeks, so often people think of meditation as, like taking yourself away from the world and disconnecting and unplugging. And I don't know, my own experience is very much about plugging in and reconnecting. And actually, although we're on our own very often doing it, like feeling more connected with the people around us, whether they're people who are still with us in this world, whether they're people that have passed away, but there is a feeling of connection that is very difficult to find when we're completely distracted and lost in sort of everyday busyness.
And the more you think that you don't have to meditate, the more you do need to. You know, the more you're like, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. Like, whatever we are. And you know, another thing I think about is my dad passed away like 2 years ago or last year. Anyway, and my uncle. And when I meditate, I think of my brother passed away when I was younger, and I feel my mother's presence. I feel like a lot of people in my family, like I just start to think about them, you know, and I feel the energy of them. And I don't get there every day, but my sister, I was telling this to my sister, I go, it's really powerful, because I feel like I have this energy with mom that I almost didn't have, you know, when she was alive. Now that I'm in touch with myself, and I'm in touch with the idea that there's another, you know, there's so much we don't know. And And she's like, well, where's dad? Does he come through in the meditation? I'm like, I don't think he's made it to the other side yet. I'm like, I'm like, he's got a lot to learn because he didn't handle himself as nicely as my mom did. So I'm sure he's stuck somewhere. So it doesn't, you know, if you're not feeling something, you don't push it. You're just like, that's not happening, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? There's nothing, it's so simple as an idea, right? Just creating the space and the time for the mind to kind of do its own thing. And yet really quite challenging at the same time.
Yeah, you know, I think you also, like, during this time, you know, I get up, I know for me, I want to read, like, I want to read a certain amount before I'm allowed to even look at the news. And, you know, and then if I'm not reading, I'm like, okay, what can I be doing now? You know, you're trying to fill up your days instead of the opportunity that this presents, which is to sit and actually think about and reflect about the way we're conducting ourselves, about the way the world's going to be different when we go back into it, you know, about how social distancing is going to create this new normal, and embrace it, you know, not resist this change, to embrace the change and kind of come into a new creative space because of the circumstances being different. And I find that you know, is a luxury to be able to think about. Once again, I don't want it to go without saying that, because so many people are suffering right now. But I mean, I want to do a better job in being able to participate in the new normal and help our healthcare workers and the people that are really on the front lines get to the next phase of, you know, of them. And that involves us all being at our best, I think, especially when you, like, for me, I can afford to stay home for longer than the average person, and I will. People need to go back to work because they're on their last leg, but the people who can should. And, you know, we need to show up for those people in a big way.
How optimistic do you feel kind of that it will create a societal change in some way?
I mean, I'm not a cynic. I am an optimist. I mean, but I do think so. I think, listen, people couldn't, it's kind of funny that Mother Nature was like, hey, everybody, get inside, shut up, and stop touching each other. Like, basically it was like, get off of each other, because and now you can't touch each other. You know, you're going on social distancing walks and you're like, this is interesting, because I would never have gone for a walk with anybody before, for, you know, this often. Like, I don't go for walks to socialize, I go for drinks. So this is a whole new, it's a whole new world, and I like it. It's uncomfortable, and that means something good is coming.
Yeah. Tell me, and I'm gonna tiptoe, like, really gently in. I don't want to kind of dive into politics, but I know you do like to keep yourself appraised of everything that's going on. I was on a podcast the other day, and the host said, well, you know, meditation, yeah, sure, it's fine, but if I'm watching a press conference from the White House, like, how am I gonna meditate kind of my way out of that sort of kind of discomfort? and I said, well, look, I only did so many years in the monastery. I think you need the Dalai Lama as a guest. You don't need me. But how much do you bring, or are you able to bring that quality of meditation, that whether it's calm or clarity, peace of mind, love, however you choose to think about it, into other areas of the day and other kind of more challenging kind of moments of the day?
Yeah, I hear you. And I believe me, I'm, you know, all up in that press conference because I'm enjoying him unraveling. But that's, you know, I know if I turn on the news and my reaction, when I start talking to the television, then I've lost control of the situation. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be in control of the news, not the news be in control of me. I know that what he's going to unravel and what he's going to say are going to be outrageous or lies or, you know, horrible to people, whatever. But my reaction is all I can control. So I have to go in there knowing I'm not going to get amped up. I'm not going to be screaming and yelling and run downstairs and go, can you believe he said this and this and that? You know, I handle myself differently. If I watch the news, it's my responsibility that I'm not taking it with me when I leave the room. I don't nail that either every day, by the way, but it's a big improvement over what was happening before, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what's on. I think it's tough, right? I think I'm a big believer that technology, there's nothing inherently bad about technology. Lots of good can come out of technology. Same with social media, same with the news and everything else. But our relationship with it is really, that's what gets to define our experience. And I feel like there is an opportunity now. It's almost as though, for better or worse in some people's lives, but with life put on pause, to some extent, we have like a moment where we can perhaps reassess what our relationship is going to be with those things. And going forward out of this, we can maybe change and have there's a potential maybe for having a healthier relationship. What's your relationship like with social media and technology?
It's again, you know, it's something you have to have the right attitude about. It's like, I used to find it to be so burdensome and such a pain and a fake, and then it's like, well, no, you got to lean into it. That's the way the world is. You know, don't resist it so much. Just find your way to do it and to be authentic for yourself. You know, I'm not going to be posting that many pretty pictures of myself seriously. You know, so like I have to embrace social media the way that I embrace it, which is mostly to be nude, but to just, you know, to not have the attitude that everything's an annoyance, or to not let things bring you down. You have to know, like, we know our hearts and our minds, and you know when you get a feeling in your stomach that you don't like, or a feeling in your heart, you know, that you don't like. It's when and you, like, meditation is something, along with my therapist, who really taught me to pay attention to those things, and it helps my reactivity. You know, it helps it so much. So I think your relationships with all of these things can be healthy. It's just a matter of you going into it with a healthy attitude and saying, this isn't going to dominate me. This is a choice I'm making, and I want to have like a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, even if we use meditation for nothing else other than a barometer in life, to kind of just realize how we're feeling and when we're starting to kind of fall out of that that equilibrium, like that on its own would be an amazing tool to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for the longest time, people used to always say, oh, take a deep breath. And I'd be like, you take a deep breath. You know, shut up. That's not my problem. Meanwhile, I couldn't breathe. You know, I was always out of breath because I was like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So breathing is essential. Like, yes, stop and breathe. When you're, you know, if I lose something in my house, like I'm about to get on a conference call and I can't find my AirPods or whatever, and I'm like, shit. It's like, stop it. First of all, stop it right now. It's only, they're AirPods. You can't have a situation right now. Pick up the phone and use your ear. Like, it's silliness like that, the minutia of life, as well as the big things. It's like you kind of have to apply that to everything. And I think that it's an exciting challenge. And I think moving forward, it's an exciting challenge for me personally to check myself, you know, when I'm feeling that way. And I've just become much more, I think the insecurity, I think a lot of people deal with the voices in their head, and they think that they're defining, that's who that they are, you know, who they are. They don't understand that our voices are just our ego or a narrative. Like, there's something very, very powerful about becoming grounded and knowing that you're unflappable and unshakable.
Yeah. And some of those stories, the funny thing is, right, you start to meditate, you realize some of those stories that have been knocking around for ages, they actually bear no kind of, there's no truth to them at all. They're from a different time in our life, and maybe different relationships, or just a different way of thinking from another time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember Dan telling me, my therapist, when I was telling him about my relationships, like having trouble dating and being, you know, trusting men. And he was like, yeah, because your brother told you he was coming back and, you know, went on a hiking trip and fell off a cliff and died. Jeez. That's why you don't trust men. That was imprinted on you when you were 9 years old. And so you think every man is going to leave you. And I'm like, no, I don't. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I do. That's why I push everyone away before they can leave, you know. And I was like, there's no way my whole life has been dictated by one event that happened when I was 9. He's like, you bet it has. Like, that is your imprint for your life. So in many ways, you can get stuck at that age, depending on what happened to you, what your trauma is, or what your pain is. We all have different things, and everyone has it. You know, you don't go through life pain-free, because it's the human experience. So I thought, I mean, once, you know, once I realized that, I thought, oh, how many of these other old injuries are there? You know, if you're left out of something and you see your friends, like, you're an adult now. You don't need to be invited to everything or be included in everything. But those are old injuries, you know, that we haven't just extinguished, I think.
Yeah. I think for most of us, we didn't go through something as serious as that. I know lots of people will have done, or some people will have done. But I think you're right in terms of the circumstances in which we grow up in, our conditioning and everything that's going on. And we kind of just, I don't know, I feel like there is a tendency as human beings just to assume that that was all just back then, and it shouldn't impact us kind of now, and we forget that we are the result of everything that has preceded us. And that doesn't mean we have to be defined by it. There's still the opportunity to kind of work with that stuff and to let go a little bit. But there is a temptation just to assume that we're disconnected from that time, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think you think, oh, the past is the past. It's like, no, the past is the present if you haven't dealt with the past.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson for me. And now I take, other people's problems a lot more seriously too. It makes you, when you can demonstrate, I think, empathy and compassion with yourself, you're able to kind of be there for other people in that way, in a way that you weren't before, which is also the point, right, of being alive.
Yeah, I would say even, I don't know if I can say more so, but as much so. It's kind of the idea even that we are somehow independent from everybody else. I think now more than ever we're seeing, right, we are all so interdependent, we are all so interconnected that the bubble of maybe independence has maybe been burst just a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that, for sure.
Hopefully.
I think so, yeah, hopefully, definitely.
Yeah, well, Chelsea, every day we've been getting together and just taking a few minutes out of the day.
I'm sorry, I can't understand anything you're saying because your accent is too thick.
I've been working so hard on my LA accent.
You have to work harder.
Every day we've been taking a bit of time out so that everyone can come together and catch their breath and just do a very, very short meditation. Would you mind joining us for one this morning?
Yeah, I'd love to, sure.
Amazing. Make yourself comfy. Feel free. You can stay there. You can log off. You can lie down. Everyone at home, just make yourself comfortable. Before we start, you got dogs, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs, and then my sister brought 2 dogs. So every morning, my dog Bert tries to eat her little dog, who's a Chihuahua mix, and he's not successful, but he's definitely had him inside of his mouth at one point.
I mean,
so every day is a risk here.
I was just wondering. So many people I know, I don't have dogs, but so many people I know say every time they sit down to meditate, the dog immediately sort of bounds into the room and sort of jumps on top of them. So I was just sort of anticipating what might happen.
No, my dogs are too fat. They can't jump.
Okay. All right. Well, wherever you are this morning, just take a moment, let go of that image. Eyes open, very soft focus, and we're going to start with just a nice big deep breath, breathing in through the nose, and as you breathe out through the mouth, just gently closing the eyes if you'd like to. You don't have to. And as you close the eyes, just feeling the weight of the body sink down. That contact against the seat, the floor, wherever you are right now. And like that barometer we were talking about, just checking in with the body. So just notice if the body feels heavy today or light. Notice if there's a sense of restlessness or stillness in the body. And in just the same way as you bring the attention to the body and the sensations in that way, just starting to notice the breath. Again, the breath is a great barometer for showing us how the body feels, how the mind feels. So we're just beginning to notice that rising and falling sensation, whether it's in the chest, diaphragm, stomach. As always, if you can't feel anything, just gently place your hand on your stomach. And we're just going to stay here, just for a few seconds. So nothing to do. Just allowing the body to breathe. Noticing if you get distracted. And if you do, just gently bring the attention back to the breath again. So just noticing that feeling, knowing that you can come back to it at any time during the day. Just bring your attention now back to the body. Coming back to that feeling of connection, contact and weight. And then whenever you're ready, just gently opening the eyes again. Thanks, Chelsea.
Thanks, Andy. It was nice to speak with you.